How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL, and welcome back to another Deadline with Dayvy live stream. This one carries quite a lot of weight. Obviously, the restart of FPL has just happened. We have had quite a little bit of a break between streams, so if there are any technical problems, please let me know in the chat, whether it's laggy or you can't hear me. Hopefully, you can hear me. But as I said, any technical problems, just let me know. It has been quite a while since I've kind of done one of these. Don't worry about the team on screen there. I know you guys are all stressed and all worried about your teams, but don't worry, this is not my squad for this deadline. I thought throughout the stream we would kind of build the squad up. I have had some couple drafts. There's been a lot of team news recently. I will be going about all that team news, all those team leaks. Something that I will like for you guys to contribute to the stream is I'm not going to be on Twitter 24/7. Obviously, I'm talking to you and answering questions. So if there is anything that you do see over on Twitter, just confirm it in the chat. Hopefully it is confirmed news. Please don't post fake news. I don't want no Donald Trump news in the chat here. Otherwise, I'm probably just have to ban you or time you out. So just make sure it's confirmed news, but then drop it in chat and I'll check it out and see if it is true. But right now, the news has dropped that O'Connell is apparently injured. Even the FPL website has posted him for 25%. He's not going to be starting, so that's someone that we're also going to have to address. And then another player is the whole flex situation. So news came out earlier today that he was potentially injured for this fixture, but then a reliable source kind of came back. A reliable source kind of came on and said that he's going to be starting. So that's going to be an interesting situation to see. A lot of fake news today over on Twitter. So hopefully you guys can get an escape from that chaoticness over on Twitter and just kind of have a chilled, relaxed stream here as we approach the deadline. So the plan right now, as Kevin Mann is asking me there in chat, the plan is going to be to use the bench boost. I'm not clickbaiting you with the title. We will be using the bench boost for this game week, and then I think we'll be wildcarding next game week. So that's something that I'm going to be considering. In terms of other captaincy options that you guys are also probably wondering, I think you kind of have to go with the Man City option. Now which one to go for is another problem. I think myself will be going for Kevin De Bruyne, just because I think he's the most reliable out of all those Man City options. I think if you want to be more maverick, you can go for someone like Aguero or Sterling. If you want to be super maverick, you can go for someone like Mahrez. But I think right now I'm currently going to be playing the bench boost, so I want to play a little bit safe in other regions. So I'm going to be going for the Kevin De Bruyne captain. Hopefully we get some team news. I don't think we'll be getting much because the Man City game is a lot later tonight. But I think we will get team news from that Sheffield United Aston Villa game, which is going to be quite fruitful, I think, because a lot of us have some maybe even tripled up on the likes of Aston Villa. I know I poked a little bit of fun in that in the last video, how I said that Aston Villa have been quite atrocious, but yet 3 of their players are in my squad, but they're just so damn cheap. So in terms of the team, I will be going about it right now because I don't want to fool anyone with the squad that I had up previously. So basically these are going to be the changes to the squad. There's going to be quite a lot, and this is probably going to change throughout the video. I think if we do get some more team news relating to the squad, we will be looking at it. But starting off in goal, I think there's no better player to kind of have in right now out of the goalkeepers than Henderson. So that's a change that we've seen from the last draft, and I'll be talking about this throughout the video. Accompanying Henderson, we're just going to go for Leno. Out of the Arsenal defenders, he's the only one I kind of trust to be playing a full 90 minutes for the double in both games. Hoping for some save points there. We spoke about Man City, but I don't think there's going to be too many clean sheets in this one. And then hopefully against Brighton, they can do something as well. Okay, cheers, Steve. Thanks for dropping by. Hopefully you enjoy your cake. Sorry I haven't been reading much of the chat. I thought I would just get the news out there for you guys, and then we'll be looking at the chat. So I appreciate all the comments and everyone replying and saying, how's it? That's nothing better to do. We kind of have that little catchphrase here. But just getting back to the team. So obviously Henderson and Leno in goal, and then I've opted for there's only one player that we can have in our double game week. It's going to be Lord Lundstrom. We've lost a ton of value on him because we transferred him out a couple of game weeks ago. But I still think he could be worth it in this one. Rumors are that he is starting. And I think with Lundstrom, it's kind of, you just have to go for it. Just hope for it. With O'Connell out, I thought I might as well just make the switch, but it has unfortunately shifted a lot of things in the areas. So Alexander-Arnold is going to be staying in the squad right now, just because the budget allowed it. Then with Target, I've opted for him as well. The other rumor apparently is Pepe Reina. So a lot of Aston Villa fans have been calling for him to be dropped, and apparently he's not on good form or something like that. I just don't think it's worth the risk of it. I would be surprised if Reina doesn't start. But the thing about Aston Villa is you might not want a goalkeeper. Maybe one of their more attacking defenders like a Target could be more value. He is also cheaper. Comes in 0.1 cheaper than Pepe Reina. So I've opted for him. Obviously, if news does come out that I think it's Nyland, if he starts, then that could also be an option to look at. Exciting option here, Doherty. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies if I'm not, but his name is a little bit hard to pronounce there. But he returns to the squad. Not returns, but he welcomes himself into the squad. And quite a good option. I've liked him. And I do think that with kind of the downgrades we've made, Doherty looks like quite a good option. Going into the midfield, this is basically the same except for one or two moves. The big move that I've done is I've taken out the likes of Nicolas Pepe. I just looked at the squad and I kind of saw where my value was being held up, and I thought that Nicolas Pepe was quite a lot of money at about 9 million. So I've opted for a downgrade to El Ghazi, and that obviously allows us to afford the more premium defenders. The likes of Alexander-Arnold, I'm still a little bit on the fence with him. I don't think that Everton game is going to be a walk in the park, but it could not be a walk in the park, but that doesn't mean he can't get a clean sheet and an attacking return. So, I mean, I'll take a 1-0 with a clean sheet and an assist from Alexander-Arnold. But he could also concede 2 goals and get no bonus points or something like that, and then he could be a flop. Also gone for Cantwell. You could also go for Duda. He's more of a differential option, but I just think that Cantwell maybe a little bit more attacking than Duda, but I think Duda had better stats. And then kind of finishing off the front, we're going for the more expensive premiums. We got Aubameyang, we got Aguero, and then finally you'll notice that I haven't tripled up on that Sheffield United or Sheffield United players, and with the downgrade of Fleck, I was forced to kind of look at other options going into that Sheffield United. I could have gone for Norwood, but I still think that he's more on the conservative side, and I did have the money to afford McBurney. So he's also rumored to start. I kind of liked him coming out on Twitter and saying, putting that fake news to bed. So he's kind of got a tick in my books. So this is currently how the squad is looking. I'll be talking about a little bit of a variation to do with Mahrez and Jesus coming up. So stay tuned for that one, because I think that one could be quite exciting. But I think it's also time to probably answer some questions, as there's probably going to be a lot of questions. So how's it? Craig Manuel saying hello there. Jack Alden saying perfect pronunciation. So if someone tunes me, I'm going to say Jack said I was good. So also we have some questions obviously about the team. Should I change to Nyland? I don't think you change to him. I think you wait for as late as possible. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be a late one, guys. I think we're going to have to wait for some team news coming up. Hopefully the likes of maybe FPL Rockstar comes back with an appearance. I think that'll be quite helpful, because we don't really know who to trust right now. There's been a lot of sources coming out with stuff. So I think I can kind of relate to some rumors as I expected them already, but a lot of them are kind of fake. So I don't listen to too much, but if we do have some confirmed sources, I'll definitely be telling you. Do you think Sharp will not start? So the rumored lineup apparently is McBurney and Sharp up front. So that to me makes sense, but it's also one of those things where I wouldn't be surprised if it changed. But that to me made sense just because I think that was the lineup before. I know Musetta is also there. He offers a nice cheap option, but I don't really think you can trust anyone. In terms of the decisions this week, I don't think there's too many bad ones. I don't think there's a wrong decision. With this whole extended lockdown break that we've had, we honestly don't know which players are going to come back firing and which players won't. So I don't think there's any bad decisions that you guys can make. Just try and pick the players that are guaranteed to start, which is why I don't think it was worth risking with the Pepe Reina story. I could just maybe get another Aston Villa defender for exactly the same price. The same thing with O'Connell before he was confirmed out. O'Connell to Egan or O'Connell to Basham was perfectly fine. So just don't take risks, I think, this game week, especially if you're using the bench boost, and which is kind of why I've got 3 single game week players, because Obviously, you can't triple up on a full squad with double game week players. So you kind of have to have your single game week players, and I think that these three are pretty good. And I think Cantwell hopefully didn't have the virus. There was rumors that it could have been him, but I don't think it was him. Matt Potter saying, McBurney, are you for real? He's useless. And that's exactly what has happened with a double game week. You're kind of going for useless players. I mean, no ways would I go for Matt Target. It's just kind of that it's like it appetizes you with that double game week. It baits you with that double game week. So I think I'm perfectly fine with taking a risk. I think it was either him or Norwood. And I don't think they're going to be particularly high ceiling players. But I just think out of those two, probably McBurney's the better one. Usama saying, glad to hear your voice from Pakistan. Thanks for tuning in. I also saw someone say that they're from Sydney or just from Australia in general, and apparently it's about 1:30 in the morning there. So I appreciate you guys staying up. It's that addiction there. Their light race at how's it, Dayvy? 1:15 a.m. in Sydney. So that FPL bug's got you bit there, and you're waiting for that deadline. Could you also go through what you would do without a bench boost? A lot of people posting teams with bench boost, but I've already used it. So if you have your bench boost already used, it all depends on kind of if you're going to be wildcarding next week or wildcarding not. If you are going to be wildcarding next week, you can kind of go for whatever you want. What I would do is have a similar team to this with a free hit, and then just maybe put Target on the bench and Cantwell on the bench. You're not going to get too many cheaper players than these two. And I think that this squad kind of relates itself to maybe a 3-4-3, and then maybe downgrade Saiss or maybe take out McBurney. But unfortunately, I would just take the squad and then vary it to whatever your kind of situation is. I still think that the Liverpool assets could come back to bite me, but it's just the risk I'm willing to take because it is a harder fixture against Everton. Could you please read the Sheffield lineup? So I will read it after the stream, definitely. But maybe if we get some confirmed news before, I would share that with you guys. I'm not going to hold it to myself and kind of only profit from it. I will share it with you. Vincent saying, hey, Davey, long time to see any electricity outages. Fortunately, we haven't had any electricity outages, so the streams won't be interrupted, hopefully. Who's your captain? My captain will be De Bruyne there. I just don't know if I'm willing to take the risk on likes of Aguero and Mahrez. So Abdul saying Nicolas Pepe. It's a tough spot to be in with Nicolas Pepe. I think that if you want to take a punt, go for him. But I just think that my squad was a little bit too on the budget side with him in. I wanted to spread those funds, and I managed to get Alexander-Arnold and Doherty, who I both think can have good game weeks. Love from India. Thanks for joining, Sunil. I have Rashford, Jota, and Jimenez. So Usama, that's all dependent on kind of if you don't have a wild card. We spoke about in the videos in the week. The two teams to target are going to be Wolves and Manchester United. I think, fortunately, because of Manchester United's fixture against Spurs, we're not looking at them too much, but I think with those free transfers that we're going to be getting next game week and the game week after, we can bring those United players in. I just remember that United are playing Sheffield United next game week, which isn't the best fixture in the world. So I do think we've got kind of 2 weeks leniency with the United options, and hopefully the likes of Pogba's back, because I think he's going to be quite a nice differential. Okay, McGinn versus El Ghazi. A lot of people are asking that. So if McGinn was guaranteed to start, I would bring him in. But the thing with McGinn, he's just come back off an injury. We've got a lot of substitutions now, so I think I'll probably kind of give him 60 minutes, bring him off. I'm kind of hoping that El Ghazi gets a little bit more than that. And I don't think they're going to want to push McGinn, because I think he's a really important part of that Aston Villa side. So that's why I've kind of just taken a little bit of a punch on El Ghazi. The other player you can look at is Douglas Luiz. He comes in at 4.4. So a lot of people also saying that they can't afford this squad. So if you can't afford this squad, just maybe downgrade El Ghazi to the likes of Douglas Luiz. And then I think you should be able to, unless your team value is really bad. So Vernon Fernandez saying, what's your chip strategy? So my chip strategy is going to be using the bench boost this game week. And then we'll be using the wild card probably next week, and then free hitting in game week 32 when Man City play Liverpool. I think that's probably the most exciting strategy to go for. And I think hopefully the most profit. I want to take advantage of these game weeks that we are having recently, as we never kind of know what's going to be happening in the past. So Samuel Newton asking a very good question there, and probably what's on a lot of your minds is the whole cheap Arsenal players, the likes of Nikita, the likes of Saka, maybe even Martinelli if you want to go there. So with those options, I think if you have no other option and your budget only allows you to buy a 4.4, you might as well just go for that. I personally prefer Cantwell over Saka just because hopefully he plays, still has a good fixture, and with Saka we never know. I almost think that Arsenal rotation, the Arsenal rotation could be worse than the Man City rotation. I've seen rumored squads of a starting lineup for Man City and then a completely different lineup for the likes of Brighton. So when I see that, I worry a little bit about those Arsenal options. But then again, if you have a 4.4 striker and he starts against Brighton, you're probably hoping that he gets something, or at least he's got a better chance than Man City. So I think I would only look at them if I have no other option. But I think if I can maybe take a punt on a striker like McBurney that has 2 fixtures, probably going to start both of them, I think that one will always kind of go for me. What about Pepe? So Pepe was someone that I was considering heavily, but I just kind of downgraded him. Excuse me there. I just kind of downgraded him because he is quite expensive. Hasn't been performing the best. I really wish I had the budget to afford him, but unfortunately, I think I get a more well-rounded squad without him. I don't have a wild card anymore. Should I play Friet this week? So Jandre, the only way I would play a Friet is if I was happy with the squad I currently have. An easy way to do that is kind of just press the points tab, and that's the team you're going to be having at the start of Game Week 31 if you do use your Friet. So if you're happy with that squad, then I would use my Friet this game week. I don't think there's any disadvantage to using your Friet, but as long as your squad at the start was good. Otherwise, I would just make use of some of those changes, maybe bring in a couple double game week players, a couple of Wolves options, maybe the Man United option here and there. The nice thing with Arsenal is they have some nice fixtures afterwards as well, Southampton and Norwich. So you can also bring them in and hopefully just keep them for those games if you don't have a wild card. Thanks, Adam. Glad to be back and communicating with you guys about your lineups. Tom saying, should I ship Salah and Mane out? So this is quite a sensitive topic, I guess, because I think a lot of people own them. But personally, for my own squad, without a wild card, or with a wild card, should I say, sorry there. With a wild card, I'm perfectly fine with shipping out that value and bringing them back in if need be. If you look at Liverpool's fixtures, they have Everton, and I can think of probably the worst thing for Everton would be to lose and the title to be handed to Liverpool. Although I don't think it will be. I think Man City will win tonight. So I think Everton are going to be looking as a derby game. They always are quite intensive. They're always quite close. I know the fixture early on in the season was like a 5-2 or whatever, but I think Liverpool were just on really hot form right there. And I think after the break, they'll take a little bit to get into it. But I still think they'll do quite well, and this is why I've kept Trent Alexander-Arnold. So if I didn't have a wild card, I probably would keep one of Salah or Mane. My personal favorite would probably be Mane. So Mane is my preferred option out of those two. Salah, he did play in the last friendly, but I think he had a little bit of an injury knock, so I think Mane is probably the one to go for there. So if you don't have a wild card, I probably would keep them and just play it more on the safe side. But because I have the wild card, I'm kind of going Maverick here, and I'm going all out for the double game week. And then I'll assess the situation after this game week. Because I do think after Liverpool win the league, which I do think they will, I think that they're going to rotate quite heavily. I think the likes of Minamino, those type of players are going to get a lot of minutes. So yes, saying no Wolves attacker, that is true. I don't have any Wolves attacker here. But unfortunately, I couldn't fit them in right away. I maybe could squeeze Jota in, but I'm also worried about his kind of rotation. Notorious Nerd saying Salah going for the golden boot. That is true. Salah and Mane are very competitive. But I just think that they'll maybe make the most out of those fixtures after they win the league than the ones now against Man City and Everton. Lundstrom or Stevens, I personally am favouring Lundstrom, Nathan. I'm kind of pushing Lundstrom hard here because I do think he'll be playing. So I would go for him. I mean, he offers an attacking and a defensive threat, and you might as well just have him in. If we get news that he is starting tonight, I think that's a guaranteed player that you should have. Especially for the likes of you guys who still have him. And if you stocked up all that value, then I don't think it's really worth transferring him out. So quickly here, I'm just going to be looking over on Twitter if we do have anything to go by. I don't think there is that much to go by. But as I said, if you guys do have anything that you can add in chat, I will probably take a look at it and assess the situation. I do think now, after I check Twitter here, we will probably be taking a look at the whole Jesus situation, which is also something that I've kind of considered. It's a draft. So currently, guys, I don't see anything on leaked team news. Thanks, Optimus Prime. I trust you, so I'm pretty sure if you post something, it will be confirmed. So thanks, Optimus. So the draft that I also was considering here about the whole Jesus situation is going to be taking the likes of McBurney out, bringing Jesus in, taking Target out, putting Douglas Luiz, as I spoke about, and then putting in the likes of Egan. So this is the other draft that I was considering. I think that this one could be a little bit more maverick than maybe the likes of the other drafts. So this kind of makes me feel good, because why argue about Aguero and Jesus when you can just have them both? I mean, surely these two will be rotating minutes. You might even get lucky and they both start with a 2 up front. I mean, that probably would be one of the best situations you can go for. But with the whole Man City options, my whole kind of mentality with them is that they're going to be rotated no matter what. So no matter if I brought in Mahrez, if I brought in Sterling, I would be prepared for them to be rotated. Maybe De Bruyne. De Bruyne is probably the only one that I wouldn't hope gets rotated, because I just think maybe he gets taken off in the 80th minute, the 90th minute, or something like that, but not in like the 60th minute. So this is what I've kind of gone for. I think if you bring in one of the other midfielders, you're probably hoping that the likes of De Bruyne, Aguero, and Mahrez start together. But then if Jesus starts, it's also kind of a hindrance. Also like this because you get that triple up on the Sheffield United defense. I don't think the Aston Villa defense is too good. So Douglas Luiz, Grealish, and El Ghazi here. And then obviously, I mean, the Jesus option is a little bit... I don't think I'll be captaining any one of these two. But this is just something that I wanted to show you guys to kind of, if you want to go for something a little bit different, this is also an option you can go for. So a lot of people are asking, why no Sterling? So basically, the only kind of reason is he's just really expensive. So I don't think that I'd be looking at Sterling. I think that Mahrez... I'll show you guys something that is quite interesting if you go look at the whole Man City situation. So if you go to Man City midfielders, you have De Bruyne on 178 points, which is crazy. You have Mahrez then on 121 and then Sterling on 118. So right now, Mahrez this season is playing better than Raheem Sterling. And I'm pretty sure, okay, he's at 1,300 minutes and Sterling's at 2,000. So, I mean, if we're going on stats from previously, I know that we don't usually go on stats, but I think that Mahrez kind of is a good option still. So I'm not saying that you should go for Mahrez. I'm just saying that I understand Sterling is probably going to maybe get more minutes, but if I was Pep Guardiola, I don't know why I wouldn't be giving Mahrez as many minutes. Maybe because he joined and he wanted to get his kind of philosophy. So I think that you could maybe over the lockdown period, he's got a massive amount of knowledge from Pep and he's fit the system well. A couple of people are also asking about the donation. So I'm sorry if you haven't donated through the chat or through YouTube and you donated on the link in the description. Just give me a second here to log in because I'm going to have to read those out again. So apologies there, guys. Just give me a quick second. Okay. Let's exit that. Donation history. So this one here. Okay, so cheers from Romania. Dayvy, instead of McBurney, I only have 4.7 budget. Who shall I get? Greenwood, success. Thanks. Okay, thank you for the donation there. The player that I would suggest you get is going to be, if you have 4.7 million, there's only kind of one player that I would be looking at. Yes, he does have a double as well. It's going to be the likes of Nketiah. So hopefully I'm pronouncing that one as well. There's a lot of players now that are coming out of the woodwork that I don't know how to pronounce their names. But Nketiah, 4.4 million, has been kind of hyped up a lot by Mikel Arteta. So he's someone that I would be looking at. I think that he's going to be a good option. I think he will start one of the games. I don't think he'll start against Man City. I think they'll go more conservative in this game. But I think against Brighton, he could get some minutes. So in terms of other players, I don't know if Greenwood will get a shout against Spurs. And then success is also a little bit of a hit and miss. So if you're going to be spending that money, you might as well just take a little bit of a punt on Nketiah. Another option you could go for is Musset. You just got to kind of expect him to maybe come off the bench. Because of all these subs that the clubs do have, I don't think any player won't come on now, as they do have a lot of minutes. So I would probably, my favorite would be Nketiah, but then you could also go for Musset. So thanks for that donation as well. And just say in chat if you did donate, because I just have to refresh the page then. I will see super chats though, so you don't have to worry about that. Mahrez or Fernandes. So I've seen a lot of people with Fernandes in their drafts. So if you do think that Fernandes is going to do well against Spurs, then perfectly fine. Have him in your squad. But why have him now when you could just bring him in for the next game week when they have those better fixtures? It is against Sheffield United, so maybe not the best fixture in the world, but I think I would just take the punt on Mahrez right now. So I would have Mahrez for this game week and then just use a free transfer the next game week. Obviously, if you do have value in him, that's another story. So if you still have a lot of value in him, then I would just kind of just keep him. So Joshua Kutsa with the 14 Rand. Also, you sent a message underneath it, so I'm just going to assume that was the message for the donation. If you had more funds, I still have 2 million. Would you upgrade anyone or keep the money for the wildcard next week? Oh my, do you have 2 million on top of this? Your team value must be absolutely crazy. So if you do have 2 million on top of this, it depends if you were thinking about the earlier draft or this one. If you're thinking about the earlier draft, which you probably would, I would look at maybe... It's really a tough one. I would maybe look at Cantwell, take Cantwell out and maybe bring in a more higher option. Maybe if you can afford the likes of Mason Mount or maybe Harvey Barnes, that could also be an option. But I would kind of maybe look at Cantwell. So if we look at maybe midfielders priced, I'm just going to assume 6.2 because you said that you have 2 million more. So that takes you to 6.7. So I think that Barnes or Mount would probably be the players I look at. In terms of play, I think that Barnes probably has more of a chance of returns, but then I think that Mason Mount has the better fixture. So I think that I would just kind of take a little bit of a punch here and go for Mason Mount. You could also opt for Traore. He could be a good option, but the thing with Traore is we don't know if he's going to start or not. So I would definitely look at upgrading Cantwell if you still have money. And then we have a super chat here from Saint194 saying, "Hi Dave, I have 0.5 million tied in Mane. Should I keep him and have Jimenez over Aguero, or sell him and have Pepe and Aguero over Mane and Jimenez?" So that's a really tough spot to be in. I think, like you, also had a lot of money tied up in Mane and Salah. I don't think that you necessarily have to be that keen on transferring Mane out. I'm just taking a big punch here. I think if you do have a wild card, I would look at take Mane out. And then play the likes of, if you want to go for Pepe and Aguero, that could be a nice option to go for. So if you, it basically comes down to if you have a wild card, take out the likes of Mane, but if you don't, just keep Mane. George Taylor also, that was also $5 from Saints, also $5 from George Taylor. All the best for this game week. Quick question, Saiz or Egan? 100% Egan. I just think you have to go for that double game week, George, but appreciate it and good luck for the game week as well for you. Thoughts on Barnes. So with Barnes, a lot of people have kind of gone for the budget options here. I'm going to make the price a little bit more here because I think we can fit in Saar as well. Okay, he's 6.4 anyway. So with Saar, I think if it's going to be a one game week punt, I won't look at the likes of Saar. I just think that Leicester, there's better players, or not better players, but there's better fixtures to kind of look at. So I wouldn't be looking at Saar if it's a one game week punt. Maybe if you need to keep him, you don't have a wild card, and this is a player for the next 3 game weeks, I would be looking at him. I think he's a nice little punt to go for over maybe the more conventional Barnes and Mount. So with Harvey Barnes, he has two nice fixtures. I don't think the Watford away fixture is the best in the world. I think Leicester will win, but I think it's going to be maybe a 1-0 or a 2-0. But then, I mean, if Harvey Barnes gets a goal and assist, you're probably laughing. But I don't know if I would go for Harvey Barnes. The player I would probably go for is Mason Mount. Aston Villa away. Probably one of the best fixtures in the Premier League at the moment. So the player I would look at is Mason Mount. So if you're going to go for Barnes, I think just get Mount instead. He also looks quite good, and I think that he should be starting in the friendly. He was playing part of the first team. I saw a question here that I quite liked from Alex Dalton saying, good to have you back. I'm tempted to captain Ender Stevens. What do you think? So maybe the player that I would look at is Lundstrom's also maybe a captaincy option. Stevens could also be a captaincy option. I think if you want to be super maverick, if you need to catch up a lot of points in your mini leagues, then I would look at maybe a captain of a Sheffield United defender. But otherwise, I think that I would maybe take more conventional approach to the captaincy and go for someone like De Bruyne, Aguero, or someone like that. But I think if you want to be super maverick, got to catch up a lot of points, then I would go for Stevens. I just don't know how high his ceiling is, because maybe a clean sheet and an assist per game, that could be quite good. But then if the likes of an attacking option gets maybe 2 goals, that could be better. So I don't know what to kind of go on that one. I think that's quite a hard spot to be in. I don't think you have to be completely composed with it. You have to not look back and have any regrets if you're going to kind of do that. Everton has a ton of injuries. Does that worry you? So obviously, I think Liverpool against any team and not owning them, I think that could be quite a tough spot to be in. But I don't think that I'll have regrets of not owning them. I think it's going to be probably quite enjoyable to watch Liverpool play, and then if they score, not have resent for the player that scored. For example, if Salah scores and I own Mane, I want to kind of celebrate any goal. So I'm perfectly happy with just having Alexander-Arnold, hoping he does quite well. We also have Martin there saying, first draft, any 5 million player for Douglas Luiz. So I probably would look at Cantwell. If you don't have a triple up on the likes of Sheffield United, I would be looking at Norwood. I think that he could be quite a good option. But other than that, I think that you kind of just have to go. It's not a really nice spot to be in. There's not many options below that 5 mil kind of bracket. So I think that's who I kind of would go for. Herman with 35 Rand saying, Dayvy, for your first draft, Barnes in for Cantwell, Jota for McBurney, TAA for Baldock. I think these are upgrades and your budget will allow. So in terms of Barnes for Cantwell, so that I consider that an upgrade. That is true. Jota for McBurney. So the only thing I don't like about Jota is I think that he's probably going to be replaced around that 60-minute mark. The player I would probably want is Raul Jimenez. I think that with that Wolves, they always kind of have a lot of front players that they are rotating all the time. So maybe not and then TAA for Baldock. So the one thing about TAA is if I transfer him out, probably going to lose a lot of budget. So that's also something that I'm considering, as I probably would like him for the rest of the season, as I don't think Liverpool have too many right and left backs to rotate him with. But that is considerations to do, Herman. So if you want to do those, I can see why you want to do them. I just think that with this kind of draft that I'm going for, it leads a little bit more towards the plan I was going for. I think that McBurney, potentially, even though he hasn't done much this season, might have a higher ceiling than Diego Jota. Captain, Aguero or KDB. So if you want to go for a safe captaincy option, go for the likes of KDB. But then if you want to be a little bit more maverick, go for the likes of Aguero. So it depends on kind of if you have a lot of spaces and ranks to catch up in your mini leagues, then I would kind of look for the likes of Aguero. But if you kind of happy with your position and you want to kind of go for something that's a little bit less or more conventional, I would just go with Kevin De Bruyne. Thanks Optimus Prime for keeping us updated there. He said no news from Twitter yet, so this looks like it's going to be quite a close one. Hopefully we don't have too many fake news reports, but I think right now what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to take the likes of Jesus out. I'm not really feeling that kind of draft too much. I wasn't really considering it that much, so I don't want to be too kind of hasty on it. So I think I'm just going to kind of go back to the likes of the one that I already had. And that means taking out the likes of Egan, I do believe, and then bringing in the likes of Target. So I think this is probably the draft that I'm going to go for. This is probably as confirmed as it's going to be before I actually hit that chip. Just remind me when the time gets quite close that I still must activate and make these transfers. Newcastle defense looks okay for one player. So if you need a budget option, I know the likes of Lascelles, apparently he had a child, so they don't know if he's going to be starting or not, but apparently he will. So if you need a nice budget option, then I would go for him. Delboy saying, take a punt on Ozil. So you could go for Ozil. I just think that that's probably a little bit even more risky than the likes of Nicolas Pepe. But if you need a player there, you want a nice differential, I would just go for it. The thing with the double game week is you've got 2 chances to be right. So if you take a punt and he doesn't do well against Man City, then at least you still have that Brighton fixture, and hopefully he does start. Sultan Saeed there, 20 minutes to go, guys. This is going to be nice and close towards the end here if we do have a leaked lineup. So is Reina a good choice? So we spoke about this a little bit earlier on. The whole thing with Pepe Reina is there's a lot of news around him, whether he's starting or not. I would probably have him in if he did start. I think that it's kind of a nice option to have there, a little bit more of a budget option. But then the likes of Target maybe has a more attacking threat. So that could also be a nice option to go for, because I don't think Aston Villa will be keeping too many clean sheets. So I don't think it's worth having Pepe Reina if you are worried about his minutes. I would be surprised if he doesn't start, but with a player like this, when there's a lot of news and a lot of talk around them, that usually spells for some trouble. So I think kind of just go for a squad that you're happy with, and you know that's going to start. Best Arsenal defenders. So I think you would probably have to go for one of their fullbacks. It's just predicting who's going to be starting. The likes of Bellerin, Tierney, those are guys are coming back from injury, and I don't know if they're going to be starting that many fixtures. I don't think I'd be that tempted with that Arsenal defense, because I think the risk is too much for the reward. I don't think the reward is high enough. A target replacement, I also like the likes of Aarons. He's playing Southampton. I know Norwich aren't known for their clean sheets, but he also has that attacking threat to go. Matt Potter says there, I'm locked in, not leaving it to the last minute. Just imagine if the FPL side goes down at the last minute and you had a power cut and can't confirm your changes. It could ruin your season. So thanks for that, Matt Potter. I was kind of on the same brainwave as you. I was going to be confirming the lineup. I think I can, basically, because the only changes I was considering were players that I don't even own. So I'm pretty sure that we can make these transfers, yeah. As we go, 0 points. Is this a free wild card? I think it is, eh? So 0 points there. I'm going to be confirming those transfers. We're going to be going to my team, putting that captaincy on Kevin De Bruyne, with maybe a vice captaincy on the likes of Sergio Aguero. We'll be playing the bench boost, and we will be saving the team there. So thanks for that. Thanks for that, Matt Potter. I do appreciate it. And maybe if we do have a power cut, South Africa electricity is not that reliable. So maybe if we do have a power cut, thanks to you, we'll be saved. So I think that basically, I have no way of going back now to the likes of Mane and all of them. W Panda's asking any news. I will kind of check for you, but I don't think so. I'm kind of banking on other people to kind of keep me updated with the news, but I don't think we'll be having too much. Hopefully the likes of FPL Rockstar has a return, but currently I don't know if he's going to. I haven't seen anything from him, and let me go to his Twitter account. He hasn't posted anything, so if he doesn't post, I don't think I'll be kind of changing much. I'll kind of just be going for what I have on the screen, because I don't think it's worth the risk of kind of going for players that I don't know. Marcus Alonso, unfortunately, that was a player that I did have in my squad, but I took him out. I think the Aston Villa fixture is a really good one to go for. So if you want to go for him, you can. I just don't know if I can afford him with my budget that I had. Can I still afford him? Okay, he's 6.2, so I guess I could afford him. So that's something that I can consider. There's also just been talks about Alonso starting. I don't know if there's too much merit to those types of rumors. But with Marcus Alonso, I think that he's probably a better option than the likes of Doherty, but I'm just a little bit scared of what Wolves are going to be doing against West Ham. Whereas I think maybe, hopefully with Alonso, maybe he's more reserved. Hopefully Aston Villa just go at them and kind of maybe Chelsea have to play a little bit more defensive. But that definitely is an option to go for. So if you want to go for the likes of Marcus Alonso over the likes of Matt Doherty, I think that could be a really good option to go for. Dan Moon saying, why so many Villa players? Unfortunately, Dan, it's just because they have a double game week. I'm a little bit more happy to not own a triple up in their defense. I just kind of have that double up in midfield. I think that there could be some value there. I think the likes of Grealish and Grealish is their main talisman. So Rebuild FC, will you use the triple captaincy chips? I already used the triple captaincy chip on the likes of Salah. I think it was game week 23 or 25 when he did quite well. So I've already used the triple captain. The only chip that I currently have is going to be the free hit and the second wild card afterwards. So let's just do some changes here. I think that I would naturally start Lundstrom and have these guys on the bench. So hopefully all these players do start. I'd be quite happy if they are. Mac saying, is Jagielka guaranteed to start? So with O'Connell out, the rumor has it that apparently Robinson is going to be playing, but that's also kind of a sticky situation. There's been no confirmation there. So I don't know. Do you think Jordan Henderson is back in form? So that's an interesting question there, Adam. It's an interesting player to go for, but I don't know if I would. Usually more of the defensive player for Liverpool. Maybe if Fabinho's playing in the hole, then maybe Jordan Henderson will be given more freedom. But I don't know if I'd be going for him. Since you have 0.2, why don't you go Saiss to Bolly? I could do that. Do you think Bolly's more kind of Bolly as a better goal threat than the likes of Saiss? Maybe. I think he's probably more guaranteed to start. Hey. But then Saiss there with those lovely bonus points. So I could do Bolly to Bolly for Saiss. That could be an interesting one to go for. McGinn. So I would go for McGinn only if we get news of the team sheet early. Otherwise, I would kind of just maybe keep that position open. I think the likes of these Aston Villa players starting is probably quite likely, whereas McGinn, we never know. The other player you could look at is Douglas Luiz. I think he will start as well. Doherty and Jota or Saiss and Raul Jimenez. I think I would go for Doherty and Jota there. He was still doing quite well before the lockdown started, so Doherty just got that amazing goal threat as well. Little Mozart also asking about Van Aanholt. So Van Aanholt also a nice option to go for. I think he's appreciated this game week. I think they have a really nice fixture, and he's always a little bit more attacking. So I definitely do think that you could go for Van Aanholt. As I said, there's a lot of options to go for. Unfortunately, there's so many that I can't afford them. If you had 1.2 million, asks David, who would you upgrade? Probably Target. I would look at maybe bringing in the likes of, if you could maybe afford Alonso, somehow maybe squeeze Alonso. Otherwise, I would just do that Cantwell upgrade. Get a 5.9 player, whoever they are. They probably got a more chance of getting points than Cantwell. But otherwise, I don't think there's too many that I would upgrade. Samatta over McBurney. So I think that could be a viable option. He's just more expensive than the likes of McBurney. And if I did buy him, I would have to arrange my team, and I can't really afford a Sheffield United defender for the likes of Target then. So Sultan Saeed said, Rockstar tweeted. So let's get... Okay, so Rockstar did tweet here. So we're going to be keeping him for the team news. So he's going to have early team news. So guys, we're going to be having early team news. Can we get some hype in chat there? So it's going to be interesting to see what this kind of tells us, because it's going to obviously be about Aston Villa and Sheffield United. If the likes of Pepe Reina does start, that could be a little bit tempting for me to switch. But I think at this stage, I probably would just leave it as it is. I don't really want to be altering the team too much towards the deadline. But we are going to be getting early team news. So if you are a Pepe Reina owner, or one of those owners, or maybe even the like of Fleck owners, I would just be holding thumbs and seeing what happens. The nice thing is we're going to be able to see if Lundstrom does start. If he doesn't start, I'll downgrade him to the likes of maybe one of the other players. Maybe I could even afford the likes of Stevens or someone like that. So that could be someone that we look at. The other player is going to be McGinn. So a lot of you guys were asking about McGinn. So I would be holding my thumbs for that. Also, maybe see if McBurney's starting. I know a couple of you were asking about the likes of Sharp, so that could also be something to consider. The amount of interactions that Rockstar gets on his tweets is like absolutely insane. He has to be one of the most popular Twitter accounts on for FPL. Downgrade Sterling and Saka to Mahrez and Ozil. So this isn't me. That seems like a nice option to go for. Personally, I think you got more chance of getting minutes out of Mahrez and Ozil. But the thing is, if you're currently captaining Sterling, then I would keep Sterling. But otherwise, I would look to shift that on. Reina, please. So that's going to be an interesting option to go for. The only thing with Reina that you must consider is if he does play and he doesn't perform well, I do think he'll be dropped for the next fixture. So that's just a little bit of food for thought there. Don't think about it too much, obviously. Don't overthink it, but that's just something. Why not maximize 12 players for the double game week? It's just because I simply can't fit them in. So I've got triple Man City, I've got triple Sheffield United, I've got triple Aston Villa. The only triple I don't have is triple Arsenal. And if you're looking at the other players, the only other player maybe I want is Pepe, but I just can't afford him. Or maybe one of their other defenders, but they're unreliable. So okay, so did he tweet the news here? Let me check. Okay, yeah, so the Aston Villa news. So Aston Villa, Pepe Reina is not playing. Samatta is also not playing. We have Nyland in goal for them. We have Mings, Target, McGinn, Douglas Luiz, El Ghazi, and Grealish. They're all starting. So I'll repeat that for Aston Villa. Nyland, Mings, Target, McGinn, Douglas Luiz, El Ghazi, and Grealish all start. Samatta is benched. Then for the likes of Sheffield United, we have Henderson, Egan, Baldock, Stevens, Lundstrom, Norwood, Sharp, McBurney all start. And there's no Fleck or O'Connell. So Lundstrom does start. If you guys do have Pepe Reina, take him out of your squads. He's not starting. You could downgrade him to the likes of Nyland. That could be an option you want to look at. He is cheaper than the likes of Pepe Reina. So McGinn is starting though. So that could be an interesting option if you want to go for him. And then also the likes of O'Connell and Fleck on starting. So please don't keep those players in your squad. If you have Lundstrom, he's starting. Put your captains on him. No, I'm just joking. You don't have to captain Lundstrom, but I do think that he's a real option now to have in your squad for this double game week as he is starting against Aston Villa. Shall I keep Grealish or no? Keep Grealish, Ali. He's playing. I can't afford McBurney. Can I go for Musset? How much is Sharp? Sharp could be an option that you go for. Sharp is 5.6, so a little bit cheaper than McBurney, but otherwise go for Nketiah. I have Saiss, so do I play Alonso instead of Doherty? I would play Alonso and Doherty together because they got the more attacking threat. So I do think that if you do have a Sheffield United defender, I would look at taking them out for Lundstrom. Is Baldock starting? Baldock is starting, so I'll just repeat this news for you guys in case there is someone that wasn't listening. But please listen, yeah. Okay, firstly, there is no City Arsenal news, so because it's a later fixture, that was kind of expected. But Aston Villa, Nyland, Mings, Target, McGinn, Douglas Luiz, El Ghazi, and Grealish all start, and Samatta is benched. Then with Sheffield United, Henderson, Egan, Baldock, Stevens, Lundstrom, Norwood, Sharp, McBurney all start, and there's no Fleck or O'Connell. So that is something to consider. I will look in the replies. Maybe he has replied to something about if you want to maybe own the likes of Robinson, you could look at him, but right now it doesn't look like he has replied. So once again, thank you to FPL Rockstar for that early team news. So please, guys, adjust your squads towards that news. I don't want any of you having players that aren't going to be starting. David Silva, what do you think? I don't think David Silva right now. I think maybe towards the end of the season because it is his retirement, so he'll be an option then. What about Reina? So the easiest option to do if you have Pepe Reina, just downgrade him to Nyland. He's the one starting tonight. Probably going to be starting in the next game as well. So I definitely think you should be looking at him. That's the easiest switch for Pepe Reina. If you want to take Pepe Reina out, bring in Henderson. Target could also be a nice option. He's also quite cheap. But it's all dependent on your squad. But the easiest transition to do is just to take out Reina and bring in Nyland. Sharp versus McBurney. There's not much in it. I just think that McBurney, purely from if you just go to Sheffield United and you kind of just look at their forwards, McBurney is just listed higher. So for some reason the basic FPL mind just says, okay, he's the better option. But that's just simply it. It's just more of a punt to go for. David Luiz from Arsenal or Alexander-Arnold from Liverpool. David Luiz got the double game week. I would just still go with Alexander-Arnold on that case. Douglas Luiz or Saka. I would go for Douglas Luiz. So Douglas Luiz is a good option now. I think he'll start both games. And at 4.4 he's really cheap. 5 minutes till the deadline, says Chris Thompson. So that is a reminder. If you have 0.3 less, who would you swap out? Asks Tom. The player I would swap out is I would probably take Saiss and I would downgrade him to a cheaper option. Maybe the likes of Aarons from Norwich. He could also be a nice option to go for. Why El Ghazi instead of McGinn? So I just favor El Ghazi. He's a wing position. I don't know what style they're going to be playing against Sheffield United, but I think that McGinn is going to be slowly brought back. Sharav, Dayvy, is this your lineup for next weekend too? It's going to be my lineup for next weekend, but I probably will be using the wild card. Target or Bolly, I think you've got to just go for Target. Are you running triple captain? I'm not running triple captain. I'm running bench boost. So here I've got the bench boost. Let me refresh so the team is set in stone. So this should be the team that we do have going into that deadline. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think the bench is quite a little bit disappointing because it does consist of single game week players and then obviously Leno. But I think we've kind of done well with what we have here. Baldock or Stevens, that is literally a toss-up, Oliver. Maybe go for Stevens. That's just the name I've mentioned. I've heard more. But in terms of if I think they're both starting. So Baldock and Stevens are both starting. So that is literally probably one of the toughest decisions you're going to have to make because it's literally a coin toss for that one. Baldock and Cantwell or Egan and Gundogan. I would go Baldock and Cantwell. I just don't know how many minutes Gundogan's going to get. Who would you downgrade if you're 0.7 short for this team? That's a little bit of a tough spot to be in. I would probably downgrade Saiss to whatever you can afford. Maybe 4.3, go for Aarons. If you're 0.7 short, just downgrade El Ghazi to Douglas Luiz. That's going to be the simplest option to go for. It's a little bit of a downgrade, but unfortunately, I don't think we've got enough time to kind of rearrange squads. How much is McGinn? So McGinn was on really good form. He's 6.1, so 5.4. So he's a little bit cheaper than El Ghazi, but I think I'm happy with him. I'm just hoping that he plays both game weeks, and then we can hopefully get some points from him. But if you are short of this team, I would probably downgrade the likes of El Ghazi to Douglas Luiz, or go from Lundstrom to maybe one of the cheaper Sheffield United defenders, and then also downgrade Saiss to Aarons. I also saw we have a member, the member, hey bro, should I go with McGinn or Grealish? I would go for Grealish. Thank you for becoming a member. I also saw that you became a member before the stream. So thank you for becoming a member, but I would go for Grealish over McGinn. I just think that for me, it's probably a little bit of a no-brainer there because of just how integral Grealish is to the team. The sad thing about getting early team news is we don't really have to look at the lineups now because, I mean, we already know what the lineups are going to be. Nketiah for McBurney, that could also be an option there, the hype. So if you can't afford this squad, go bring in Nketiah for the likes of McBurney. And then you just got to kind of hope that he plays. But guys, please get your teams in. We have basically 1 minute till the deadline. Doherty or Alonso, you can only choose one. I would go for Doherty if you don't have any Wolves defenders. I just think with Alonso, I think he will start, but it's also, you never kind of know. G-Rid saying, I've actually put Lundstrom captain, don't trust Pep. So that's an interesting option to go for there. You got to tweet me if it pays off, G-Rid. I want to see that. I want to see those points. Is Trossard good enough? Herpia squad, I don't think so. It's a little bit of an outside punt there. Start Target or Saiz. I would go for Target just because of the double. Is Douglas starting? He is. Game X. Cantwell has the virus, apparently, but then also the player, Traore or Ghazi. I'd go with Al Ghazi. Apparently, Cantwell could have had the virus, but also the player that had it returned a negative test, and then Cantwell was posting stuff on his social media a lot. So, Glenn Alexander, thanks for joining the stream. Good luck and welcome back, FPL managers. So hopefully this is going to be a good game week. I think the deadline is up. I'm not going to refresh the page because otherwise it's going to be it's going to just show you a blank screen. But this is the team we kind of ended with. So hopefully you guys got your squads in, are happy with the squads, and finally, FPL is back, and hopefully it's going to be an absolute cracker for us on double game week 30 plus. Thanks for joining the stream, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Hopefully it was profitable for you. I know advice is sometimes hard with a game like FPL because it's so unpredictable. But we also have a couple of Lundstrom captainers in the chat. I admire your guys' kahunas because that is quite an insane captaincy. I really hope that it does pay off for you. I think it will, though. Charlie Y, 3 Villa players. They have a double game week and they're super cheap. So I kind of just went with them, hoped for the best. It's going to be interesting to see if that whole Jesus draft would have paid off. That would be quite interesting. But thanks for joining, guys. I'm probably going to be cutting it shortly as I will go and just get ready for that whole team. Actually, what we can do is we can check the team lineups if you guys want to kind of confirm if Rockstar was right. So if we go to Aston Villa's lineup here, hopefully it's on. Oh, the lineup hasn't even been posted yet. Does that mean I'm going to have to go all the way onto the homepage of Twitter? Okay, let's go. I don't think it says anything here. Or have they posted? Sorry, I'm a little bit... I have to search the names on Twitter because Google didn't even have the drafts. Okay, so Aston Villa, pretty much what we had confirmed here. It's going to be interesting to see what they play at. I don't know who's going to be their centre forward, but it does look like Reina was on the bench there. And then Sheffield United, they should be probably the standard as well. Okay, so Lundstrom does start, McBurney. We have the normal. So Robinson does start as well, so that's quite interesting. So if you guys did take a little bit of a punt on him, that's quite exciting. I just, by mistake, closed my stream link. So I don't even know if we're still live. Yes, we're still live. Sorry, guys. Sorry for ditching you right there. But yeah, as I said, Rockstar was right, as he usually is. But I'm probably going to wrap up the stream here, guys. Thanks for joining. Hopefully, Game Week 30 Plus is absolutely sensational, and we all do quite well. So I'll see you on the other side of it, over on Twitter, as well as probably the next team selection or the next team preview. But I'm going to be signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.